We are all creatures of habit, and we get stuck doing the same things and trying the same things over and over to make meaningful change in our life. Now, has that worked for you? It didn't work for me. Hi, I'm Callie. I'm a health and life coach here at Thrive in Functional Medicine. And today I want to talk to you about what we really need to get to really make meaningful change and how to start recognizing patterns and using them to our advantage. So we all operate on a system of what our identity is, how we identify. So if you have tried to make change in your life, only to do it for a short period of time and then come back to old habits, it's probably because you shifted your actions for a bit, but you didn't start to shift how you truly identify. So if you want to make meaningful change in your life, you have to start looking at your identity. Your identity is what creates your beliefs and your emotions and your feelings, which is what creates our actions. And then this is a feedback loop that continues to say, yeah, this is your identity. And then we believe what our beliefs, emotions, feelings, actions, and it's a feedback loop that continues. So if you haven't made meaningful, lasting change in your life, it's because you haven't shifted your identity. So when we are working on any of these things in our clinic, we start to look at what are the patterns that are going on in your life. Now, there are patterns that serve you. There's patterns that don't serve you. So the first step in that is one, recognizing what are your patterns. What are your patterns? What are things that you do consistently and maybe sometimes without even thinking about them? You have to bring them to your awareness. You may need someone to support you in this process sometimes, or if you just can really take some time to take a step back and look at things in your life, you can start to recognize those patterns. So that's the first step. The second step is interrupting those patterns. And I like to do a drastic interrupt of those patterns so that we can really make that change. The third step after that, once we've started to interrupt those old patterns, is shifting and moving towards a new, more empowering pattern, and then starting to utilize those patterns to our advantage. So if you really want to create lasting change in your life or in your health, you need to look at how you identify. You need to recognize patterns, interrupt those patterns, and start shifting to new empowering patterns. We help people do this at our clinic all the time. Now, let's do an example of this. So let's say that you are wanting to get healthier, which is a very general term, but you're wanting to improve the overall health and well-being of your life. So you need to start recognizing, how do you identify? When I work on this with people, I have them ask themselves the question throughout the day, what would a healthy person do in this situation? Because sometimes when we're first starting to make that change, we don't have the identity to build off of. So we have to start asking ourselves the question of, how would a healthy person handle this situation? What would a healthy person do? And how would they get movement? How would they eat? How would they behave? If we can start to ask ourselves those questions, then we're recognizing those patterns. We can interrupt them and we can move to new, more empowering patterns. So let's say you're a person who right now struggles with movement. You're identifying as somebody maybe who doesn't exercise. That's an identity. If you are a person who does that, as you're starting to shift to a person who identifies as somebody who does take movement seriously in their life, as somebody who is a person who moves and exercises, we have to start interrupting that pattern and sending votes towards that person that we're wanting to become. Now, in an election, you don't have to have all of the votes to win. You just need to have a majority. So as we're starting to shift our identity, we have to start putting more votes towards that healthy person that exercises, because we're human. We're going to have times when we have votes that go the opposite direction. If you can start to implement shifting your identity and then starting to recognize your patterns, interrupting them, and shifting to new, more empowering patterns, I can guarantee it's going to improve your quality of life, your health, and your well-being.